Welcome to the Movieception Show. My name is Fariva, and tonight we're about to watch Agatha All Along. I believe episode 4. I keep forgetting that we actually had a 2-episode premiere, so I think it's 3, but we're actually on 4. So yeah, I mean, so far I think the show has been good, but I've also been very cautious about giving any sort of finalized response as to how I feel about the show, because as I said before, I think in the past I have said many times of how, you know, I've had experiences with really strong shows, like really strong beginnings, but then it starts to muddle in the middle and then it will falter by the end. And I've had this happen so many times with Star Wars and even Marvel shows. So that's why I've been very cautious about the show. Like, yes, it does seem good so far, but can it stick the landing by the time we get to the finale, right? And so far, the consistency does seem to be there, but can it maintain that for the remaining 6 episodes? So, from last episode, I believe that's when they had their first trial. Mrs. Hart has sadly passed away. I hope maybe something must be undone. But of course, the big thing that we got out of that episode is that we got a little bit more of the details regarding Teen as well as Agatha. It does seem as though there's a sigil, some sort of spell that's on Teen, that, you know, anytime any witch tries to ask him about, you know, who he is, what he is, just anything personal about him, he can't seem to, or he can blurt them out, just that they can't seem to hear those details, right? So somebody put some sort of spell on him. And on top of that, we also learn about Agatha's history a little bit more this time around. The fact that she actually, you know, there's this so-called rumor where she sacrificed her child so that way she can get hold of the dark hold. And now, of course, when you look at it, it does seem as though that this might imply that Teen could be Agatha's child. And I think we've noticed a little bit here and there that Agatha is getting the sense of that too. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm very interested to see how things move forward. Again, we've gone through the first trial. We saw a casualty as a result of them going in that, what was that, Rainbow Road, right? Or the Witch's Road. Sorry, the Witch's Road. I don't know why I was saying Rainbow Road. Like, I'm thinking about, you know, Wizard of Oz, because I mean, there's a lot of Wizard of Oz references here. But the Witch's Road, what does it mean going forward? I know we haven't seen Aubrey Plaza, so I hope we get to see her this time around. So yeah, I mean, let's not delay this any further. Without further ado, let's get right down into the 4th episode of Agatha All Along.
Right on tour. Hotel fire.
So, if you're not trying to find her out here, why did you come with us?
She said the road would save me.
R.I.P. Mrs. Hart.
So late.
Well, shall we?
Needed the whole gang to access the road. But after that, it's anybody's game. It's like the ballad says, burn and brew with coven two, and glory shall be thine.
The ballad clearly says, with coven true, glory shall be thine.
No, it doesn't.
She wouldn't know.
How many witches left the road with you last time?
She's never been on the road.
Bitch, this is your fault.
Okay, wow.
Ooh.
It's everybody's fault. We were supposed to look out for each other, but we didn't. That was our fatal mistake.
It was fatal for Mrs. Hart.
Anybody got a spell book?
Ah,
I'm gonna assume
May
it's
she be
Aubrey
smart.
Plaza's Rio Vidal.
not annoying. And also not super political.
Marinate. Gestate.
I knew this was very clearly a group effort!
Oh my god, did we turn Mrs. Hart into a zombie?
She has to be cast!
Yeah, that is Aubrey Plaza. Rio
I heard you
Vidal.
guys were having a party.
Surprise.
My lady.
What are you doing?
Green witch?
Mm-hmm.
Less a green witch. More
The Green Witch.
Okay.
We're supposed to walk this thing, right?
Yeah. Out.
So, what do we think? Can we trust her?
We know
No.
nothing about her. We know Agatha hates her. I'd say that goes in the pro column.
Oh, there goes the next house, which means next trial.
Here we
Yeah, I'm assuming it reappeared in a different direction, right?
I agree, but the road clearly does not. So I guess we go.
No choice. Oh, we're in the 70s groovy.
Don't drink anything. Don't eat anything. Don't touch anything.
No.
Which is it? Am I wispy or am I kooky?
A bit of both, if I'm honest.
Alice. Alice.
How's the quest for power going?
It's going.
Who are these people?
Oh, they're my new best friends.
That boy.
Oh. Many hands. You and me.
Like old times?
Work and play.
Oh boy, I am sensing sexual
nice,
tension.
And I get my buddies.
Hey, that's my coven you're talking about. I'm not that kind of witch anymore.
I knew it! What does he mean? What is she talking about you? What is that?
I'm sorry, I thought it was a clue!
What made you think that?
Play me. Yeah, I figured it was a music thing.
It's reading backwards.
We've been cursed.
Again. Are you melting?
What is it, Lilia? What's wrong? Bath. What if we locate and reason
Salt
with the witch
bath.
who cast the curse?
Once
Supernatural.
vengeance is loosed, you can't.
Her shoulders.
Oh. Ooh.
It's you, isn't it? You brought it in here, didn't you?
Leave her alone, Agatha.
I didn't think it was real. I thought it was me. That it's my fault that I can't keep a job. That everything I touch turns to shit.
Oh, what did she do?
A generational curse.
Oh, you poor thing.
Poor us. Now we have our family's old ass curse.
I'm sorry.
Teen! What was that about? Oh,
Solution.
No, it's not.
oh, we're gonna hear the song
We
again.
have to play Lorna's ballad. Attention.
To save her daughter.
You should have burnt to a crisp years ago, but here you are. Sullen and aimless. Lorna's ballad is a protection spell. It protected you.
And maybe now it can protect us. Oh, Zills.
Oh!
Alice?
Down, down, down,
Yay!
down the witch's road. The dangers great, the trials wait for those that seek the prize. Tame your fears, a door appears
Oh, no.
to love that never dies. Down, down,
Oh, they're Mephisto? Is that Mephisto?
I can kill it.
We did it. Yay.
Oh, he's bleeding.
Team, what happened? What's wrong with him? He's bleeding. We've got to get.
He's strong.
Don't.
Oh, she thinks that's his kid. That's her kid. Oh.
Jennifer,
You saved him.
look what you did.
We've all got an extra nipple.
You guys don't have extra nipples? I'm covered in nipples.
Oh my
You
god.
want to see?
Oh my god, I'm getting April vibes.
Be lifted.
Sigils are destroyed, not lifted. So before you ask how, in that curious little voice of yours, the answer is when they're no longer needed.
What really happened to your son?
Did she have a son? Or did she have a
Real
daughter?
fast.
Where do you go? Yeah, she had a lot of memory loss.
How is he?
Knitting needle to the elbow.
Ugh.
You ever hear of the Daughters of Liberty?
No.
Exactly.
How you doing? Yes, I do.
She's giving April vibes.
A long time ago. And it hurt them.
Oh, they had a flaying, I see.
She is my scar.
They had a fling.
Agatha? That boy isn't yours.
I think I know who it could be, though. All right, so that was the 4th episode of Agatha All Along. I think just to kind of get the general gist of it, I think it's another solid episode. I appreciate the fact that we're still seeing the consistency of what this show is providing in terms of the storytelling and doing so in its own pacing. And I will say this, that this one was, again, as we all suspected, continuing off with the fact that we are still dealing with the trials. So let's get right down into some of the bits and pieces that we saw in this episode. So I will say this. I had a feeling that there was some sexual tension. There was something that was going on between Agatha and Rio Vidal. I like, just from the first episode, I was like, I'm sensing some sexual tension coming from, Rio Vidal, like when she was sitting in the chair and meeting up with Agatha. And then we see that again here in this episode. Of course, before we're just like, okay, what's going on between them? They seem to have a history. Now we got some answers in this episode. Now, of course, Miss Hart seems to have definitively passed away. So that really sucks. I know a lot of us really loved her. But now Rio Vidal is now the replacement. What was that? Green Witch, right? So we have that. So now we do get to see a little bit more of, what really happened between Agatha and Rio. It does seem as though that they did had a relationship in the past, although probably one that didn't end too well. We kind of hear that from Rio herself, saying that, her scar is the relationship that, that ended so poorly. And we see even at the end, like, how they're starting to get really intimate. So yeah, there you have it. Like, we have a little bit more of that detail now. As to what caused them to have this rift, we don't know. Probably in future episodes, we're going to get some sort of answers regards to that. So something to look forward to there. Like, again, it's nice to see that Aubrey Plaza is back. I keep saying Brie Larson. No, I meant to say Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey Plaza is back. I'm not gonna lie. She was giving a lot of April vibes. So I was like, is that April that I'm sensing? Yes, I've watched some Parks and Recs, guys. So yeah, I was getting a lot of April vibes every time that she showed up. I was like, I'm sensing some April. So that was a little bit fun. Nice to see that Aubrey Plaza is back. I hope to see if there's going to be some growth with the character. As I said before with my theory that she could be Morgan Le Fay, which could sense why she's the Green Witch. I mean, again, that's just a theory right there. But yeah, there is that. Now let's go into the whole trial with the 70s and the grooviness and how the music itself is basically their next task. We see that there is this curse that, that seems to have translated to everyone else in the room. Like it was then passed down. And then we saw how, we got a little bit more of an idea of what happened to, I believe her character's name is Lexi, right? Lexi, and how, why this particularly impacts her, because it seems to be something that has been carrying down through generations. And yet she actually got some answers regarding her mother, where because of whole Witch's Road and this music, that there was actually protection spells set on her. So now she got some answers regarding her death, and I feel like that's a really great way to kind of resolve one of the arcs here, because again, from last episode, we got a sense that a lot of these witches had something that was bothering them. With Agatha, of course, like it seems as though that she was starting to sense some guilt about her child, and that the rumor about her sacrificing her child to the Darkhold might actually be true. And then we get here a little bit more details about their backstory, because I will say this, we've met Agatha before, so we already know who she is as a character. We're very familiar with her. Of course, then we have all these different characters who are new to us, and we don't really know much about them. So there's definitely the question of, will they be very deep characters, and whether or not we're actually gonna care for them, right? I mean, I think instantly we love Mrs. Hart. She's like she's a very cheery person, even in some of the most frightening and menacing moments in her life. She seems to bring some sort of joy and high spirits. Again, I really hope she comes back, but if not, we've seen and met Mrs. Hart again. She was also in WandaVision, but we've not seen the other three witches before, let alone Rio Vidal as well. So, and I will say that I feel like we got a little bit more of an idea of who these characters are, understanding what they're going through and sympathizing with them. And I think that this is what makes this show so different from some of the other shows that we had before, because this seems to be a show that knows where it's going in terms of its direction, what it wants to really foretell in terms of its story, and how it wants to reach that point. And I hope that, again, that it maintains that consistency going into some of the, the subsequent episodes, because again, usually it's around the middle sections of the seasons where I felt like things start to kind of dip. So let's hope and, cross our fingers that episode 5 and even 6 end up being very good episodes as well, even as middle episodes. So, but today, very solid. Again, similar to what we saw in the last one. As we all know, we all got a sense that, what we're seeing here is that they're all going through this trial and tribulation. They have to go through these steps, and therefore, if they can all complete them together with all of them alive, of course, then they'll be able to fulfill their deepest desires through this, Witch's Road journey. So I really appreciate that. I do hope that we get a little bit more depth going into the future episodes. Of course, going into the whole Agatha stuff. I mean, I will say this before going into Agatha stuff. I will say this. I think what I really like about this show, especially considering the fact that it is a companion to WandaVision, is that we knew with WandaVision, it was very focused on the sitcom stuff, but the whole sitcom stuff was just really the whole gimmick of it. What really was the center of it was Wanda's journey to grief. Right. And she surrounded that with sitcoms because that's what, helped her, well, at least helped her to kind of process that grieving. And then we saw again how that journey was for her, and it was through sitcoms. And here it's like we see, again, it's not as if it's the same thing. I mean, clearly it's not, but we see how the style is here, where it's, instead of just being about sitcoms, the style is that it's going to be through, trials, through tasks, and how they're going to react to that and how they're going to resolve that, right? So I like that. I love that there is a clear idea of where they want to, like how the showrunners want to go in terms of executing the plan for it. So far it's working, and I like that, and I hope it maintains that. So, and if that's the case, that makes me even more excited for Vision Quest, or that's the so-called title right now. So, but focusing on Agatha all along, very good so far. Please, I'm hoping the pacing sticks. But yeah, having said that, let's get down to the main thing, which is about Teen, right? So, okay, so last episode, right? After the revelation of what happened to Agatha's child, or this rumor that she had sacrificed her child to get hold of the Darkhold, I would imagine that a lot of us started to kind of have second thoughts about our theories about Teen, that maybe Teen might not be Wiccan, may not be Billy, but maybe he is the child of Agatha, the child that Agatha had actually sacrificed. And I know that a lot of us imagine that maybe this could be what it really is, but now that we got today's episode and the way that it ended, it's like, oh, if she's not, if Teen is not Agatha's son, then that means that was a red herring this whole time. I mean, we had a week of red herring, but that means that's a red herring, and therefore we're going to go back to our previous theory that Teen is very much likely Wiccan, and that, you know, of course, that means that he would be the son of Wanda Maximoff. Now, I've said my theory going into this, like, again, now that we got this, it's like, okay, I'm now going back to my previous theory about who Teen is, why Teen is here, and why he wants to go into Witch's Road. I had basically said that I do think that he is Billy, aka Wiccan, and the reason why that suddenly he wants to go on the Witch's Road, I don't think, again, I can't recall from the second episode, I believe it was the second episode, the second, or maybe it was the first episode, it was one of the first two episodes, right? That's where we meet Teen, and he is the one who suggests about going to the Witch's Road. I don't recall if he ever said his intentions about why he wanted to go on the Witch's Road, other than just become, you know, a witch himself, but I think what could really be the case with the Witch's Road is that it could actually be related to Wanda Maximoff. Now, I said that, you know, this road could mean that this could give him some answers about Wanda. Maybe he can find his mother or something. I think just even to elaborate on that, right? We know from Multiverse of Madness, right, that Wanda had sacrificed her life to destroy every copy of the Darkhold, and she succeeded in that. But from what we would all, again, there's a little bit of this grayness of, is she really dead, or is she just, you know, kind of floating around somewhere? We've been getting some kind of details of it, but it's never been definitive. And then the way that Elizabeth Olsen has been responding to whether or not she would want to return to the MCU. She, you know, after Multiverse of Madness, for like a while, she was like, oh, I think I'm done. I'm just gonna focus on the project. And then suddenly, like, not even a month ago, her attitude changes about returning, where she's like, oh, I would be okay to return as long as there's a right story for it. Like, as if we haven't seen a similar pattern with this with Robert Downey Jr. So that just raises my suspicion that, you know, if again, having seen kind of the clues here, right, and trying to bring together the clues, if Teen ends up becoming Wiccan, then that means that we could potentially see Wanda Maximoff come back, which also means seeing Elizabeth Olsen back as the Scarlet Witch, which would be really amazing. But again, that's just a far-fetched call to make right now. It's too soon to even be making that call, but it's not out of the question now, having heard this. Again, we're only just in episode 4. We're barely halfway there yet, and I believe the finale is like the last 2 episodes, but yeah, it's too soon to call. We still don't know where the things will go. We did get a little bit more depth of some of the characters, which is great. And we actually got to see Agatha, like, you know, start to actually be a very humanistic person, where she actually is caring for Teen. It's like, oh, she actually does have some, you know, soul. She actually is caring, even though she's being very, you know, I guess you could say nonchalant about it. So, but yeah, very interesting to get that revelation. I didn't think it was going to happen so soon, where they were just going to debunk the theory, right? Or not debunk the theory, but debunk what was initially kind of going into everyone's thoughts about Teen, and how someone was having those theories about Teen of him being the child of Agatha, but I think now we're all going back to the whole Wiccan theory again, that, if this is not the case, he's probably Wiccan. And I think now that there's now a very strong case that he could be Wiccan. I think there's been some clues here and there so far with this show. So, but again, we still have a couple more episodes to go. I just hope that, moving forward, it still maintains that pacing, that, the consistency, as well as able to really provide the execution of what they want to provide with this story, this witchy story, and how all these witches are trying to fulfill this journey, this really tough journey where they all have to work together to survive, to then be able to get their deepest desires. And I know this is going to be filled with lots and lots of theories. I mean, I was hoping they would have said Mephisto here, because we did see a red demon, but did not hear a word of Mephisto at all. So maybe once again, we're being played with the whole Mephisto debacle, with the whole Mephisto, brouhaha that happened from 3 years ago. I still have a lot of memories from that. So, but yeah, another solid episode, I think. Again, nice to hear the song again, although it's a very different version and with a different lyrics, but nice to hear that song again. Again, very catchy. I would imagine more people are going to be tuning in to that song. But I think that just about wraps up what I have to say about the 4th episode right here. But let me hear your thoughts now, having seen tonight's episode. What are your thoughts having, just in terms of the quality so far of this series, in terms of the storytelling, the writing, the premise? Do you think it's very consistent? Do you think that this is the execution that you think, we should have been seeing in previous Marvel shows? And on top of that, do you think this will continue on going into like some of the more middle episodes, like going into episodes 5, 6, and even 7? And if not, then what are some things that you think you would want to, this show to improve on? Or is it too, early to make any calls right now about your impressions about this series? In terms of the whole, story that we're seeing here, what do you think is really going on between Agatha and Rio? What really happened to them? What caused the breakup? Do you think you spotted some clues here and there? Do you think Rio could be Morgan Le Fay, as I've been saying here and there? Maybe I could be wrong. Who knows? What are your thoughts about the characters that we've seen so far, right? The other 3 witches who are in this witch's journey, seeing how we're getting a little bit more of the background of their story. What are your thoughts about that? And then, of course, seeing Agatha and how she's actually very caring for Teen, and then having that whole revelation at the end, right? If he is not, if he's not Agatha's son, then who could he be? Who is he the child of? Is it really Wanda's child? If so, why is he on the witch's road? Maybe I missed that whole detail, maybe. But if not, what is his intention? And if anything, does this mean that we're going to see Wanda Maximoff after all? Let me know your thoughts below, and make sure to like and subscribe.